If you're over Zaventic, here's why you might stop visiting people. Act eye-opening truths. Have you ever thought about hanging a little sign on your front door that says, "Visitors welcome, if you bring pie and leave the drama at home"? Sounds funny, right? But honestly, there comes a time when peace and pastry matter more than polite conversation. You might have been the life of the party once dancing at weddings, hosting big family BBQs, showing up to every potluck with that famous casserole. But lately, even putting on real pants feels like a big social effort. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone and you're not lazy either. You're evolving. According to Harvard studies, our social priorities change with age. Our brains become more selective, kind of like your stomach at a buffet. At 30, you pile everything on the plate. At 70, you go straight for what you know you'll enjoy and leave the rest. That's wisdom in action. As we age, the brain's emotional processing center, the amygdala, reacts less to negative energy and more to positive cues. Translation: you've got less patience for nonsense and more love for no-pressure conversations over tea. You're not becoming antisocial. You're becoming emotionally efficient. Dr. Laura Carstensen from Stanford calls this the socio-emotional selectivity theory. Sounds fancy, but it simply means, at this point in life, you want real connection, not just real noise. You've had your share of small talno, you're craving soul talk. So if you're skipping a visit to stay home in your favorite robe, eat a cookie and watch birds out the window, that's not weird, it's healing. And frankly, your robe probably loves you more than your neighbor's couch ever did. You're not disappearing from people's lives, you're just curating your time like a fine art gallery. Not every painting makes it to the wall, and that's perfectly okay. Because maybe the best thing about getting older isn't the senior discount, it's the freedom to say, "No thanks, I'm busy being peaceful." 1. The energy equation has changed. You know you're in your 70s when the phrase "quick visit" sounds like an Olympic sport. Just getting dressed, finding your keys, remembering where you were going, congratulations, that's 3 events down already. The truth is, even the simplest outing now feels like it needs a warm-up and a recovery period. That's not laziness, that's physics, literally. According to the National Institute on Aging, as we get older, our aerobic capacity decreases, meaning our heart and lungs don't deliver oxygen to our muscles as efficiently. So yes, walking up your friend's front steps does count as cardio now, and no, you're not imagining it. Martha, 72, used to feel guilty skipping Sunday lunches with the neighbors. But one day, she realized something. Driving across town, making small talk, pretending she didn't need a nap, it just didn't spark joy anymore. You know what did? Saving that energy to watch her granddaughter's piano recital and having enough pep left to clap like she meant it. She stopped spreading herself thin to please everyone and started investing her time like it was her retirement fund wisely, and with joy in mind. Energy became her currency, and she decided only people who bring peace were worth the price of admission. Science backs her up. Studies in psychology and aging show that older adults benefit more from emotionally satisfying social interactions than from quantity. That means it's perfectly natural to shrink your social circle but fill it with people who actually light you up. And hey, if you'd rather spend your evening sipping tea in your favorite chair instead of shouting over a dinner table, that's not antisocial. That's self-aware. That's called choosing peace over performance. If you agree that energy is gold, drop energy first in the comments. Let's normalize saying no to things that drain you and yes to what truly matters. 2. Peace, people-pleasing. George used to say he'd rather run into a burning building than attend Sunday dinner at his cousin's house, and he wasn't joking. At 74, after decades of being the yes man in his family, he finally realized something. Not every invitation deserves a polite RSVP. Because sometimes a full plate of roast beef comes with a side of emotional chaos. It wasn't the food, it was the passive-aggressive jabs, the gossip that never ends, the arguments about politics that go in circles and leave no one smiling. Every visit drained him like a leaky faucet, and the more he showed up, the less of himself he felt. That's when it clicked. Protecting your peace isn't optional, it's survival. Science agrees. According to the American Psychological Association, chronic exposure to negative social interactions significantly increases the risk of depression and heart disease, particularly in older adults. Even brief moments of social stress can trigger a spike in cortisol, the stress hormone, putting your health on high alert. But here's the powerful shift. Peace is a choice, and George made it. He traded tension-filled gatherings for quiet mornings on his porch, listening to birds instead of bickering. He found joy in solitude, not silence. And most importantly, he stopped feeling guilty about it. As we age, our emotional goals evolve. The socio-emotional selectivity theory, developed by Dr. Laura Carstensen at Stanford, explains that older adults prioritize emotional well-being over social obligation. We no longer seek to impress, we seek to feel at peace. That's not withdrawal. That's wisdom in action. So if you've ever smiled through a visit that left your stomach in knots, or stayed quiet to keep the family peace, while your spirit screamed, "Let me go home," know this. You're not alone and you don't have to keep doing it. You are allowed to walk away from people who leave you feeling worse than when they found you. There's bravery in saying, "Not this time." There's healing in choosing silence over stress. And there's joy-deep, sustaining joy in building a life where peace isn't the exception but the rule. 3. There's no place like your home. There's a kind of joy that only comes from slipping into your favorite chair, hearing your old records play softly in the background, and sipping coffee so perfectly made, even Starbucks would be jealous. Lorraine, now 75, says her happiest moments aren't found across town, they're right there in her sunroom. She used to go everywhere: bingo nights, church potlucks, garden club lunches, but lately, she finds herself whispering a sweet no thank you to invitations and a warm yes please to staying in. Not because she's giving up, but because she's tuning in to what her soul actually needs. There's a scientific reason for that shift. According to a study from the University of California, Davis, older adults associate home environments with emotional security, lower blood pressure, and reduced cognitive stress. In short, your cozy recliner isn't just comfortable, it's therapeutic. And let's be honest, unfamiliar homes mean unfamiliar chair soften hard ones that squeak, wobble, or cut off circulation at the knees. Who wants that when you've got a seat perfectly shaped by years of naps, crossword puzzles, and late-night chats with your cat? Lorraine jokes that her thermostat, her remote, and her teacup know her better than most people, and she might be right. Home is where you don't have to smile if you don't feel like it, where pants with buttons are optional, and where the silence is never awkward, it's golden. In psychology, the concept of place attachment explains how strong emotional bonds form between people and specific spaces. These bonds increase our sense of identity, control, and calm, especially in later life. That's why forcing yourself out just to keep up appearances often leaves you feeling more lonely than staying in. Choosing to stay home doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world. It means reconnecting with the part of you that craves safety, rhythm, and comfort. It means creating a space where you're not just welcome, you belong. And the truth is, sometimes the greatest adventure isn't out there, it's inside your own four walls, with your music, your memories, and the freedom to be completely, unapologetically yourself. 4. Deeper bonds, fewer faces. If your phone rings and it's someone who truly knows your heart, you answer with a smile. But if it's just another person from your old church group who only calls when they need a ride, you hesitate. That hesitation speaks volumes, and it's okay to listen to it. Victor, now 78, used to be the first to arrive and last to leave every community event. He knew everyone's name, birthday, and casserole recipe. But lately, his calendar looks empty around, his soul feels fuller. Why? Because he stopped chasing connection and started choosing it. Real friendship doesn't need constant maintenance. It needs mutual care, presence when it counts, and space to breathe. According to a 2020 report from the National Academies of Sciences, emotionally satisfying relationships, not how many, but how deep, are directly linked to lower mortality, better memory, and reduced loneliness in aging adults. There comes a time when you stop collecting people like trinkets and start curating your circle like fine art. You no longer tolerate shallow chit-chat that drains you. You crave soul-nourishing conversations, the kind that leave you feeling seen, not scanned. The myth that being popular means being fulfilled fades quickly after 70. Studies from Brigham Young University found that loneliness increases with superficial interaction. Meanwhile, people with fewer but meaningful friendships reported higher life satisfaction, better sleep, and less anxiety. Victor now spends quiet evenings with 2 close friends who know his life inside out. No need for small talk or fake smiles, just shared silence, deep laughter, and a kind of presence that heals. He says he hasn't felt this connected in decades. So ask yourself, would you rather be surrounded by 30 voices who barely know you, or 3 souls who truly see you even in silence? You already know the answer. As we grow older, our time becomes more precious, our tolerance for pretense thinner. Choose wisely. The right people won't need constant proof that you care, they'll feel it in your presence, however rare. Tag a friend who brings you peace and not pressure. And if you're feeling brave, share one moment they showed up for you. In this space, your stories matter. Let's lift each other up with the friendships that truly heal. 5. Priorities shift hand. That's a gift. There was a time when your days moved fast, when you said yes before you even knew the question, when your schedule was proof you mattered. But something sacred happens with age. The noise quiets, and what remains is clarity. Now, your morning starts slower. A warm cup of coffee, a few lines in your journal, the soft hum of birdsong replacing alarm clocks. You're not rushing to be seen, you're finally seeing yourself. You walk through your garden, not to impress, but to breathe. You read not to keep up, but to feed your soul. The pace has changed, yes, but the richness has deepened. This shift isn't selfish, it's survival. The Harvard study of adult development tone of the longest in history found that emotional well-being increases as we age, especially when we choose meaning over momentum. Fulfillment grows not from doing more, but from doing what matters. The world might still measure worth by how busy we are, but you've learned the truth. Peace doesn't come from presence at events, it comes from presence with yourself. And that's a gift no calendar can offer. You no longer feel pressure to perform, attend, or explain. You've earned the right to stay home, to reflect, to rest. Stillness is no longer empty, it's full of memory, gratitude, and gentle joy. Robert, 76, once filled his weeks with gatherings and projects, thinking purpose meant productivity. But after a quiet morning writing poems he never plans to publish, he said, "This is the first time I feel whole, even in silence." This stage of life isn't an endings, it's an unfolding. A homecoming to who you've always been beneath the expectations. You're not disappearing from the world. You're returning to yourself. And in that return, there's power, there's grace, there's peace. Have you ever found unexpected joy in a quiet morning or in choosing rest over rushing? Tell us one moment that made your heart smile. Or maybe this slower pace isn't the end of your story, but the start of the most meaningful chapter yet. Zess, real friendship doesn't expire. You know it's real friendship when a year goes by and the next conversation still feels like home. Marilyn, now 76, hadn't seen her best friend in over 12 months, but when they met again, there was no awkward pause, just familiar laughter echoing like no time had passed. In younger years, we're taught that closeness depends on constant contact. But with age comes a deeper truth. The heart knows no calendar. If the connection is real, it holds itself, quietly and completely, even through long silences. According to research from the Mayo Clinic, what truly sustains friendships is emotional resonance, not frequent communication. It's the sense of being seen and valued, not how often you talk, but how deeply you're understood when you do. This is why so many older adults stop forcing interactions. We learn that some friendships require tending, while others are like wildflowers growing beautifully with little effort, just trust and time. Marilyn once thought she needed to call weekly to prove she cared. Now she realizes that love doesn't expire. It waits. It remembers. It shows up, even after a long pause, and says, "You've always mattered to me." Don't mistake fewer visits for fading affection. Some bonds are built on soul, not schedule. And if someone truly knows your heart, they won't guilt you for the gaps, they'll honor the return. Not every relationship survives distance, but the ones that do, those are gold. You don't need a dozen reminders, just one real moment that reminds you, I'm still here for you. So if you've been feeling bad about drifting a little, stop. You didn't drift. You lived, and the right people. They stayed with you, even when life got quiet. Do you have a friend like that? Someone who shows up exactly when it matters? What makes that bond so special to you? Share below, we'd love to hear the love. 7. A shift in priorities and personal fulfillment. There comes a moment in life not marked by birthdays, but by clarity when you stop asking, what do people expect of me? And start wondering, what truly brings me peace? That moment is quiet, but it changes everything. At 73, Richard no longer feels the need to fill his calendar. He feels more accomplished tending his tomatoes than attending any crowded lunch. He says it best, "I'm not withdrawing, I'm finally arriving in my own life." Science supports this inner shift. According to Stanford's socio-emotional selectivity theory, as people age, their goals transition from status and novelty toward emotional meaning and personal fulfillment. That's not giving up, it's growing wise. You're no longer seeking applause, you're seeking presence. The kind you feel when you sit on your porch, coffee in hand, watching sunlight filter through the trees. No need for crowds, just contentment. You realize that happiness isn't loud, it's still. It lives in small, ordinary moments that used to slip by unnoticed. Now they feel like treasure, a morning breeze, the smell of soup, the joy of doing nothing without guilt. This shift in priority is a quiet rebellion, a refusal to be defined by busyness, a bold act of choosing yourself over appearances, and in that choice, something beautiful is born: sovereignty. Many fear that slowing down means fading out, but studies from the American Psychological Association show the opposite. Older adults who focus on purposeful, calm living often experience higher life satisfaction than those chasing social fulfillment. It turns out, letting go isn't the end of connection, it's the beginning of authenticity. When you stop trying to be everywhere, you finally get to be herefully, deeply, honestly. So if you find joy in saying no to another gathering and yes to a peaceful evening alone, know this: you're not isolating, you're evolving. What simple moment brought you peace this week? A walk? A memory? A homemade pie? Share it below. We celebrate the quiet wins here. 8. Reverse visits. Flip the script. What if the answer isn't saying yes to more visits, but rewriting the rules altogether? Instead of dragging yourself across town, exhausted before you even get there, maybe it's time to flip the script and let connection come to you. Joanne, 77, used to feel torn wanting to maintain relationships, but worn down by the travel, the noise, the chairs that made her back scream. Then she had a radical idea. She created Tea and Talk Thursdays right at home. 1 hour, open door, no pressure. Suddenly, instead of trying to keep up, she felt others making the effort. And those who showed up? They were the ones who truly cared. No fuss, no guilt, just warmth, laughter, and her favorite tea blend steeping in the background. Research from the University of Michigan confirms this shift in dynamic matters. Older adults who retain autonomy over their social lives, choosing how and when to connect, report significantly higher emotional well-being and self-esteem than those who feel socially obligated. This isn't avoidance, it's empowerment. You're no longer at the mercy of other people's plans, their pace, or their expectations. You're setting the tone. You're hosting life on your terms. Even a simple idea like "Call Me Sunday" can change everything. One day a week where your line is open to those who value you enough to dial in. It's structure with softness, boundaries wrapped in love. This approach doesn't close doors. It opens intentional ones. It says, I still want you in my life, but in a way that respects both of us. That kind of clarity strengthens, not weakens, relationships. Because after a certain age, connection shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel like comfort. If they truly care, they'll meet you where you are, not just physically, but emotionally. What's one way you would love to connect in your own terms? Share it below. Let's inspire each other to create friendships that fit real life, not just routines. So here's the quiet truth we often forget to say out loud. You've earned this peace. Every wrinkle, every lesson, every chapter behind you has led to this moment, the freedom to choose you. You've spent decades showing up for others, for family, for responsibility. Now, you get to show up for yourself. That's not selfish. That's sacred. It's the final gift of age, clarity, choice, and calm. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the pressure to explain why you said no, why you stayed home, why your joy looks quieter than before. The people who love you won't ask for a reason, they'll just be glad you're at peace. And if someone makes you feel like less because you're not running around like you used to, remember, stillness isn't emptiness. It's presence with depth. It's strength wrapped in silence. Life after 70 is no longer about proving yourself, it's about being yourself. Fully, freely, and with fierce intention. Not to impress, but to align with what truly matters to your heart. So create your rhythm. Choose your pace. Say yes only to what lights you up, and let everything else gently pass. Because peace isn't just a privilege, it's a practice, one you've more than earned. What was the last time you said no and felt truly proud of it? Share your story below. Your wisdom could comfort someone else today. If you believe your time is sacred and meant for joy, not obligation, hit like, and let's stand for peace together. Enjoy, subscribe, and say hello in the comments. You're not just watching, you're part of a warm, wise community. And remember, Maybe the most meaningful chapter of your life is still unfolding, and it begins with honoring your peace. See you in the next video, and until then, honor your peace. You've earned it.